Chris Brown, Thad Brown, here with you, ready to welcome in from Good Morning Football, one Kyle Brandt, who makes his weekly appearance with us here during the regular season. Kyle, good to have you. Angry runs went well, I trust, this morning. We saw that there was a Bills nominee. And before I let you answer, I just want to say that, to me, it was reminiscent of the Jake the Snake DDT move. Now, technically, Josh would have to be facing said defender of the Texans to pull off the true DDT in DDT fashion. But for an on-the-run scramble move, it was a pretty close second in terms of maneuver there. What do you think of the DDT reference?
This is why I love the show. We lead with the DDT reference. And this is why I always have your back, Brownie. Because if you remember, and the wrestling heads out there will back me up on this, Jake the Snake also had a setup move to his DDT, which was a short clothesline in which he would pull the guy into a clothesline. And that was like the opening band for the DDT. And then the DDT would come. So it was almost like kind of a combination of the two of them. And it's just like, just when we think that Josh has shown us all the things he's going to do that are strange and energetic on the field with his body, he gives us a reverse stiff arm to someone already behind him. It's kind of like flipping the bird to someone you've already passed in traffic. Like, it's just insult to injury. He didn't need to bring that guy down with him. But like I said, he said, if I'm going down, dude, guess who else is coming with me? I've never seen someone get pulled down from in front of them. And yet, like all the things that he does in the field, I find it intoxicating. And Jake the Snake Roberts, perfect reference. First, he had Damien the Snake. And then the earthquake sat on Damien and killed Damien. And then there was a replacement snake named Lucifer. That's the deal. They're just going to try to sit on a snake named Mahomes this week for the Bills.
I can't imagine what the PETA would have done with that now, this day and age. Apparently in the late 80s, early 90s, it was fair game. Thad, I want to include you on this because when that play happened, I want to know what the chatter was around you in the press box Sunday, because two people next to me looked at me and said, "Can he even do that? Is that allowed?" Did you have a similar conversation near you, Thad? Or?
Well, remember, I'm on the field for the games, so I got a little different perspective. So, I mean, my perspective was unique in that I didn't even know Josh did this until 24, 30 hours later, something like that. And my reaction was, did he plan that? Or is that something that just happened in the moment? Like, you're coming with me. And I guarantee, I know there's a really big football game coming up on Sunday, but I'm going to ask Josh, I want to know what the origin of the on-field DDT move was yesterday, whether that was something. Do you practice that? Do you work on that with Davis Webb when the media's not watching? Or is that just spur of the moment? I want to inflict some pain if I can.
Yeah. But let's dive headlong, Kyle, into Chiefs-Bills. We are trying to knock around here with our listeners and viewers today, what new addition to Buffalo's roster may help them get a win in Arrowhead, something they haven't done since McDermott's first year here in 2017, and that was pre-Mahomes. That was Alex Smith quarterback days. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a new addition to the roster like an Emmanuel Sanders. It could be somebody that's emerged. Dawson Knox came to mind for us.
Sure.
Emmanuel Sanders is obviously a factor in this conversation. The return of Starr from an opt-out year. So I didn't know if anybody comes to mind for you or even a unit at large on this Bills roster that you think could swing the balance, tip the balance a little bit here this time around.
It's a great question. And they're going to need them all, aren't they? I'm going to go back to what we talked about a few weeks ago. Moss and Motor and anybody who's going to line up behind Josh. Like this is the week. This is Super Bowl 55 and a half. This is the one now. We did the Patriots Brady thing. This is the game. And, we were talking this morning to your question, Brownie, the type of thing about, all these questions kick around. Well, if the Chiefs don't play their best game and the Bills don't, who wins? It's so evenly matched. I really think it's finally one of these weeks where, like, oh my gosh, the Bills can run the ball, and they ran it right down the Chiefs' throat. Because I used this word this morning. I used the word pulp to describe the Chiefs' defense. It's pulp. It is a white, sloppy mess of a substance that isn't even technically a solid. It's kind of a solid liquid hybrid. Last week, Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith did whatever they wanted against the Chiefs. The week before, Herbert, whatever he wanted. The week before that, the Ravens. They got nothing right now. And they got some injured guys and some proud guys. That's fine. But this is the week the Bills say, we are going to take the curtain off our running game like the mad scientist in the laboratory. And you think it's going to be Josh this? No. Up the middle into the pulp. Yes, pulp. It's like that OJ with extra pulp. That's going to go right up the middle. I want the running game. This is the week.
Kyle, you just talked about how much trouble the Chiefs have had defensively.
Oh, my God.
But, they're Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble and a questionable pass interference call from being 4-0 potentially. Is it maybe a little overrated? The Chiefs aren't the Chiefs anymore. There's concern. They may not, the money may be falling this season.
I know what you mean, because then you're like, oh, whatever, the Chiefs terrible. Did you see Tyreek? Have you ever watched Travis Kelce? I know what you mean by that. Here's where I come out, and this is why I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl before the season. I don't think that the Chiefs are an ascending team. I think they're an excellent team that I worry is peaked. They are not better than they were last year or the year before. If you were going to invest in the Chiefs right now, you wouldn't make any money because I don't think there's going to be any return. Look at the teams that are ascending. It's not just Buffalo. It's the Chiefs. It's the Chargers. It is the Raiders. It is the Browns. All of these young teams are getting, and by the way, these teams are beating the Chiefs now. Like the Chargers are beating them. Lamar is beating them. I try to look at what's next. The Chiefs are still excellent. Don't get me wrong. They're all the way up here. Are they better than last year? No. Are they better than the year before? No. I think the Bills are, and there are a bunch of teams in the AFC. That's why I think the Chiefs can be gotten.
Yeah, and their defensive numbers, I mean, you can run down the list. They're all atrocious.
It's objectively terrible.
Right. They have played some pretty good competition. I mean, Cleveland, the Chargers, as you mentioned, both ascending teams. Baltimore, teams that can put points on the board, teams that have offensive talent. But it is hard to get away from it. I mean, opponents, and you mentioned the running game, Kyle, and the reason I want to mention this stat is for that very reason. Right now, the Chiefs' defense is last in the league in allowing rushes for touchdowns. One rushing touchdown every 13 and a half carries. And I realize that's probably a very arbitrary number. But every 13 and a half carries, somebody's running it in against you? That's not good.
Well, that means that's just math, Brian. We got to get 27 carries, and that's 2 touchdowns. That's 13.5 times 2. That's simple. And that's what you're talking about. That is like, we thought we fixed this Chiefs thing. This is a very hashtag 2019 conversation. Man, the Chiefs are great on offense, and Mahomes is a magician, but the defense is soft. They won't be able to win it. And then they got this Sark comes in. It's fixed. It's not a thing anymore. We got Honey Badger and Frank Clark and all these. The defense is fixed, and they win the Super Bowl. And sure enough, it was. It's a big-time regression. And some of it has to do with injuries. Some of it has to do with age. But you can't tell me that right now, the Chiefs are, oh, my God, they're the Super Bowl favorite. They're not. Maybe they will be in a month or so. Maybe they'll start playing better. But all we're doing, if you're saying that, is based on years past. I'm trying to look to the future, and I don't think they're better. I think they're worse than they were a year ago. I do.
We've been talking a lot, Kyle, about the Bills offense, Chief defense part of this game. Let's flip to the other side.
All right.
Because last year in the AFC Championship game, the Bills essentially never stopped the Chiefs. The Chiefs stopped themselves on the first drive and then rolled through the rest of the game. This Bills defense has been fantastic through 4 weeks.
I know.
But the national point of view, how much do you take into account it's been Davis Mills and Taylor Heineke and Jacoby Brissett and the tattered remains of Ben Roethlisberger that's been, fueling this success for the Bills so far?
The tattered remains of Ben Roethlisberger sounds like a band that I saw in 1995. Like that sounds like some heavy metal band. That's very poetic. Here's the thing. Apologize for nothing. Okay, so you beat the Texans, and that's fine. You crushed them. You're supposed to crush them. If they beat the Texans and Davis Mills 23-21 on a last-second field goal, you're damn right I'm a little concerned about who they've played. But when you beat them 40-0 and you have 2 shutouts in 3 weeks, that I don't apologize for any of that stuff at all. This Texans team, we can laugh at Davis Mills and stuff. They started the season strong. They were going to beat the Browns. None of that. The hell with all that. I don't believe in that. This is one of these strength of schedule things. Now, if you want a real example of a team that hadn't played anybody and got exposed, look at the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos are 3-0, and they hadn't played squat, and so they lose to Baltimore. And maybe they're not that good. Buffalo, get out of here. 40-0. I don't care if it's a high school team. Like, that is a crazy score. So listen, about the defense, we know what time it is. We know those guys in the secondary and Poyer are going to have to play the games of their lives. And listen, as much as Mahomes has been losing lately, we had the question this morning, and I keep bringing up all the stuff from this morning because I was thinking about you guys. So I knew I was going to come on. And we're starting to say, who needs this win more? Is it Kansas City or is it Buffalo? The case for Kansas City, obviously, their record is not as good. You don't want to fall that far behind in the standings and everything. But if they lose there's also this, if Buffalo loses this game, I don't want to use the word despair here, but it's certainly going to be a huge psychological setback that how and then when are we going to beat these guys? Because Herbert just did these dudes in their house. Lamar beat them. When can we finally beat? If not now, when? I actually think Buffalo needs it more than Kansas City, despite what the records say, because it's up here.
Oh, it unquestionably is. Probably more in the minds of Bills fans than the players themselves, because there's been a lot of disappointment here. You know, the 17-year drought notwithstanding, and all the disappointment that had rolled up into it. And there's chapters and chapters of that you can page through if you want to punish yourself. So, yeah, that psyche very much exists. And if they don't beat them, I think Bills fans will be lamenting what the future holds because, you know, it's Ric Flair. To beat the man, you got to beat the man. And, you know, they're not there if they can't beat them because you got to beat the man. And that just hasn't happened. I want to take your Chiefs characterization a step further as it pertains to their own division, because I think the state of the division from top to bottom has surprised some people. I still don't know if I believe in the Broncos. They had a soft early schedule. I think they're coming back down to earth in a hurry. But the Chargers are legit to me because I think Justin Herbert is the closest thing to Josh Allen, who's not Josh Allen. And that, plus all the talent around him, I think puts them squarely in the conversation to put some heat on the Chiefs for the division title when all is said and done. I know you're a big fan of the Raiders. I'm not there yet. I just don't think John Gruden sweats the details enough to have that team in it at the end. I think they'll probably be a 10-7, 11-6. Who knows? Maybe even a 12-5 team, and they'll get to the playoffs. But I see an early exit for them. But what about the Chargers' ability to put heat on the Chiefs in the West for the division titles? A crazy conversation at the beginning of the year, but a month in, it's not so crazy.
What about your ability, Brownie, to put the heat on me as some diehard Raiders fan? Where did that come from?
Well, you were talking him up last week, and you mentioned and you mentioned him again here today. So I'm just trying to read your tea leaves.
I was gonna come on in a Darth Vader helmet and like a Commitment to Excellence T-shirt, and I promise next week I will. But listen, here's the tea leaves. The quote last night. As long as we're talking AFC Power, the Joey Bosa quote about Derek Carr after that game was profound, and I'm paraphrasing here, but Bosa, who doesn't say a ton, had all kinds of takes after that win last night. And he effectively said, listen, Derek Carr's a good player and everything, but we know he's the guy that when you hit him, he'll start going down and curling up early. All you have to do, he even said, when you hit him, he gets shook. And I was like, no one talks like this anymore in the 2020. Is this 1985, Bosa? I love it. So that was good old-fashioned rivalry. And look, there is a thought about Derek Carr that he is a great guy and an occasionally great quarterback who some players think is soft. Some players think that he will turtle if you hit him. So there are a million guys who've been like that over the years. Great players who maybe if you put a hard foul on David Robinson, maybe he's not so bad for the Spurs back in the day. There's just guys like that. Yeah. And maybe players think that Derek Carr will find out. I don't think, Brownie, to get back to your point, I don't think Justin Herbert is that guy. Like this, if you're a Bills fan or Chiefs fan, like who are you afraid of for the next 10 years? Who are you like, God, I hope they suck. Look, maybe it's Herbert, maybe it's not. I remember last year at this time we were saying, man, this Tua looks incredible. He may take over the AFC. And Tua has been banged up a lot. That has not come to fruition. But Herbert, good God, his pulse doesn't change. His facial expression doesn't change. Fourth and whatever in Arrowhead, no big deal. And the Staley seems like he's afraid of nothing. So there's a rumbling with the Chargers right now. It's still percolating, but it's really impressive.
Kyle, how impressed are you with the rumbling in Cleveland and maybe in Baltimore? I mean, that's a division now that's been Pittsburgh's to lose for the last decade, no matter how good everyone else seems to be. And now, like we said, the Steelers are following tattered remains, is the way I put it. Regardless, though, you talk about teams that might be dangerous 10 years down the road or even this year. How much nerves should Bills fans have with what's percolating in the AFC North?
You hate to see it. It's like these crops that have been planted that are starting to grow. Because I'm looking at the Bengals at 3-1 and 2-0 in the conference, 1-0 in the division. Burrow is just like I said about Herbert. Like I know everybody's got this arm talent now and everybody can run. I watched their facial expressions. I watched these guys in the fourth quarter when it's 3rd and 9 and the call comes in and who looks tense and who looks afraid. Burrow is cocksure. And they used to use it about Brett Favre all the time. He's like, fine, I got this. I don't care. And he's also cocky too, like little quote afterwards. So listen, there are threats out there. There are a lot of them. And some of them more advanced, Lamar, of course, and Baker. But yeah, of course I'm worried. And by the way, if I'm also in the AFC, keep the tattered remains down while we can. Let's get Roethlisberger, like in the Royal Rumble, and they have to throw him over the top rope. Yeah. Get him out. Because we don't want Big John Studd just, catching his breath in the corner. And all of a sudden the Steelers got hot and won 3 in a row. Don't want that either. There's way too many good AFC quarterbacks. And this could be the end of Roethlisberger, which is a good thing for the Bills fans. He's had a nice career. Get out of here.
Yeah. For these other young AFC quarterbacks, you may need to call in Papa Shango and get some voodoo going to kind of have some bad things happen to those teams. Yeah, Papa Shango, I'm a big fan.
Sure.
I want to run this past you because I'm trying to picture it in my mind, and for some reason it's not all coming together. Marshawn Lynch as an ambassador for the NFLPA for recently retired and current players, a brand ambassador. Now, this could go a multitude of ways. I know I don't need to tell you that, Kyle. Give me your best crystal ball as to how this one's going to play out. I mean, is he going to be signing up guys for Doritos, or is he going to be like, where is this going?
He's a Skittles guy too. He likes to taste the rainbow. I know
power
he's into
pellets.
They never underestimate the power of one quote and of one mission statement. And Marshawn, when he gave that quote about take care of your bodies, take care of your mentals, and take care of your chicken.
Yeah.
That was effectively his entire plan as a leader. And I would imagine to players was like that was his Gettysburg Address. That was everything you needed to hear. Like that was the greatest inauguration speech. He puts his hand on the Bible and he's sworn in and my fellow Americans, take care of your bodies, your mentals, and your chickens. And I bet all the players were like, you got my vote, Marshawn. Like that is the greatest speech you ever need. About before COVID blew up, Marshawn was scheduled to speak at Princeton's graduation. I just know that because this is my alma mater. I'm like, wow, Marshawn's going to speak. They brought him in, and then they had to cancel it because of COVID and everything. But, like, there is a whole different side of him. And I imagine if I'm a player who's about to be done with my career or starting my career, I look at Marshawn, and I'm like, that's me. That's the guy who's representing me, not some guy in a suit. Like, I want that guy in the Doritos commercial, and he'll probably be incredible.
Kyle, you're sitting there in front of the Ringer 10 questions banner, and I've always been fascinated to ask you about this. I enjoy the podcast.
Thanks.
What goes into kind of creating that? I know it turns into kind of a competition or a contest with guys, and part of it's interviewing in a more traditional format. But certainly, as someone who's in the business and creating content, and how do you land on some of the things you land on, and what works? I mean, do you have to keep in mind like this is a good quarterback question, this is a good receiver question, this is a good reporter question? Yeah. What's the background of how that happens for you?
Thanks for asking. So it's 10 questions, and they're all trivia questions, basically. And then based on the answer, I attach it to their life. So I reverse engineer it. So when Josh Allen was on the show, I wanted to talk to him about his early life. So I knew the name of the town he was from in California. And I was like, Josh, what cinnamon-flavored candy is known as an atomic what? And he didn't know the answer. The answer is Fireball. So when he says, oh, Fireball, then we talk about Firebaugh. I said, Josh, what does the C in CEO stand for? He said, Chief. Oh, we're going to talk about how you guys lost to the Chiefs. So you keep score, you reverse engineer it. And my greatest pleasure from it, as I got with Josh, is being like, why the hell is he asking me about yogurt or Return of the Jedi or anything? I got Eli on. I did him last week. I'm doing Mark Cuban this afternoon. And the pleasure is just blowing their hair back about how weird the questions were. And to this day, Bills fans, I've done dozens of episodes. Josh Allen, highest score of all time, 9 out of 10 points.
Yeah. McConaughey is still my favorite episode. It's not even close. That guy
was good.
He's a piece of
work. A lot
of
wild turkey, Brownie. It was great. We toasted.
I'm sure it was.
You just don't know if he just had half a doobie before you started or a little, whatever it was. He gets to that place, man. He's cool, man. All right, 10 questions, man. He was great.
But I tell you, he's sharp. I mean, don't let him fool you. He's sharp as a tack, man, and
no doubt.
He's almost smarter in that laid back vibe.
No
more
doubt.
than anything else. And his book was fantastic, too. I
Green Lights.
It was good. It was a good book. I enjoyed it. It's season 3, though, for you. It kicks off now, right? This week?
Yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, the first episode with Eli. I did this random media guy who I don't know very well named Nate Burleson. He's kind of a hothead, jackass. Don't know him. Episode was fine. The great Dennis Quaid came on. We talked all about it on Sunday. Dennis Quaid, we had this debate, and I know we're tight on time. I'll be short. I said, Dennis, you've done like 17 sports movies, if you really add them up. They call Costner the king of the sports movie, but I feel like Costner's the Hank Aaron. You're the Pete Rose. Let's settle this thing. And we had a heated debate about the king of the sports movie. So that was with Quaid. And then I do Mark Cuban this afternoon in a couple hours.
Yeah, you got to see if Dennis can get you Randy, because that would be
listen, it gets dicey with Randy.
Well, that's why it'd be good, though.
Brownie, I'm trying to talk to him about Cousin Eddie, his brother, Randy Quaid.
Exactly.
And it's just a little dicey. You can tell it tenses up a little bit. And I said, do you guys say at Christmas time, hey, bleeper was full? And he's like, no. Like, I don't. It's gone a strange place. But we all love Cousin Eddie.
Is there a cutting room floor of 10 questions that would be worth putting on at some point?
Yeah.
Can you tease that? Yeah.
Very much often it's when you're done, this like you're always be like, oh, this is great, this is so fun. Close the laptop, it's over. And then you get an email from the publicist. They're like, yeah, question 7, that thing about can we cut that out? There's been some Hall of Famers who've immediately responded and said, we would prefer not to have that part in. I'm like, that's the best part.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you got to do
All right. I don't want to end this on a difficult note for you as a resident
Let's do it, Brownie.
Chicago Bears fan. Nagy, as you know, said when Andy Dalton's healthy, he's going to be back in the lineup as the starter. I think we would all agree that Justin Fields from one week to the next was dramatically improved with Bill Lazor calling the plays on offense. At the very least, that will continue. What does your Bears fandom tell you in the back of your brain and try to avoid past history to go negative here?
Says go get an Aaron Rodgers jersey.
Whoa!
Listen.
Whoa!
Nobody knows the answer to this question, Brownie. There are extremely plugged in insiders, ex-players, anybody you want around this country. No one knows the answer of why Matt Nagy has this undying, unbridled love for Andy Dalton. Love anything in your life as much as Nagy loves Andy Dalton. I don't know why. And there's this there. Well, it's under direction from ownership to keep Fields out of harm's way. I don't buy that for a second. I don't think the Bears operate that way. I don't think they make football decisions. And so you may think, well, Nagy, he's trying to save his job. You're going to save your job with Andy Dalton? Guys, this team is not that good. The schedule is really hard. Look at their schedule sucks. Like they may be like a 3-9 team sitting here somewhere. So if you are Nagy, you're like, good God, let's take a shot with this crazy athlete as opposed to Captain Checkdown, who was pretty good with the Bengals for a while. It's the strangest thing in football right now. I mean, second only to the Deshaun Watson situation, which is unbelievably bizarre and unsavory. But this is the second strangest. And just watch it if Dalton gets back out there and he's not good. Can you imagine the roar from Bears fans? Like, what are we doing here? No wonder they're going to build a new stadium in a different site because they're going to burn this one to the ground.
The whole thing is counterintuitive. I agree.
Yes, and they got the Raiders this weekend.
Yeah, which sparks me to recall a saying that my mom would always throw out whenever something smelled awfully fishy and involved somebody that was just making no sense with their decision making. The other person involved invariably had pictures of that person and was forcing them to make, It was always, they got pictures on him. That's what she always used to say. That's why.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe that's what maybe Andy Dalton was on Matt Nagy's OnlyFans account or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what those things are. I don't dabble in those waters. But if the logic of Mrs. Brown certainly may hold true.
Either way, none of it makes any sense. And I feel for Bears fans. I think they deserve better than that. But that's just me sitting here in Buffalo. So
Well, listen, Bears fans had to endure about 3 years of the guy who's sitting behind Josh Allen right now, and that was a very trying time. We're happy for Mitch. We love seeing him get in the end zone last week. He's always been a hard worker and a great dude. He just didn't have it, and so now we're hoping for Fields, but they won't give it to us.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe something crazy happens and they luck into making the right decision. Who knows? Kyle, I got my fingers crossed for you Bears fans. I really do. But
I hope so. That lightning that struck in LA last night, maybe it'll strike something in Chicago and launch a different kind of thinking. Who knows? That's maybe what we need, the 1.21 gigawatts of energy to change this thing.
You want to throw a quick score at us for Sunday night or no?
Of course I do. Yeah. I don't think about these things beforehand. I think it's going to be 37-26 Buffalo. Yeah.
Okay.
37-26.
Another.
We're
10
recording
plus.
this. We can play it back. Yes, they're winning by 11 points, and all hell is going to break loose in Kansas City. 37-26. Play it back next week.
Wow, that would be their fourth straight 10-plus point victory.
Record. The tattered remains of the Chiefs.
Wow. Okay. We'll take it to the bank. Kyle, thanks as always. We'll catch up with you next week.
Nice to meet you, man. See you, Brownie.
You too, Kyle. Good time, man.